Hello students, in this video you will review about what you have learned in the quarter 2. Let's check it out. The immune system is a complex network of the cells and proteins that defends the body against the infection. The immune system or defense system in humans are divided into two types. First, external defense system. Second, internal defense system. External defense systems is the natural barriers that the immune system defend the body against the organisms that can cause the infection. Natural barriers include the skin, mucous membranes, tears, earwax, mucus, and stomatocyte. Internal defense systems is the body defense systems by the white blood cells or leukocytes. These include the inflammatory response, which is caused by the dilated blood vessels, phagocytosis, natural killer cells, and the complement systems. We classify leukocytes into two main cellular groups which coordinate a two-pronged attack, which are phagocytes and lymphocytes. Phagocytes include the macrophages and neutrophils. Macrophages are long-lived cells that play the crucial role in initiating the immune response, since they do not destroy the pathogens completely but cut them up to display the antigens that can be recognized by the lymphocytes. Neutrophils are the special group of white blood cells that play an extremely important role in protecting the body against infections. Neutrophils are phagocytes, capable of ingesting microorganisms or particles. The process is called as phagocytosis. The primary immune response occurs when an antigen comes in contact with the immune system for the first time. The first or primary response is slow because at this stage, there are very few B cells that are specific to the antigens. The secondary immune response occurs when the second time, including the third, fourth, and so on, the person is exposed to the same antigens. The secondary response is faster because there are now many memory cells, which is quickly divide and differentiate into the plasma cells. Memory cells are the basis of immunological memory. They last for many years, often a lifetime. This explains why someone is very unlikely to catch measles twice. There is only one strain of the virus that causes measles, and each time it infects the body, there's a fast secondary response. However, we do suffer repeated infections of the common cold and influenza because there are many different and new strains of the viruses that cause these diseases, each one having different antigens. Each time a pathogen with different antigens infect us, the primary response must occur before we become immune, and during that time, we often become ill. Based on how body acquire immunity, it can be divided into four types. First, naturally acquired active immunity. Second, naturally acquired passive immunity. Third, artificially acquired active immunity. And fourth, artificially acquired passive immunity. Naturally acquired active immunity occurs when the person is exposed to a live pathogens, develop the disease, and become immune as the result of the primary immune response. Naturally acquired passive immunity occurs during the pregnancy, in which certain antibodies are passed from the maternal blood into the fetal bloodstream or may also be transferred through the breast milk. Artificially acquired active immunity occurs when someone is injected with a vaccine or vaccination. This vaccine stimulates the primary response against the antigens in the recipient without causing symptoms of the disease. Artificially acquired passive immunity is an immediate but a short-term immunization provided by the injections of the antibodies, such as the gamma globulin. They are not produced by the recipient cells. Now, let's move on to the next unit, which is about the coordination. Our brain can be divided into three main parts: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and brainstem. Cerebrum is the largest part of the brain, which can be further divided into the right and left halves called hemisphere. Each cerebral hemisphere has four lobes, namely frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and temporal lobe. Each lobe performs different functions. Cerebellum is responsible for the movement and coordination. It gives you the sense of balance and thus prevents you from falling down. Brainstem includes the midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. It controls whole body involuntary actions like breathing, heart rate, and blood pressure. Brain comes under a system called the nervous system. Structurally, nervous systems is classified into two types: central nervous systems or CNS and peripheral nervous systems or PNS. The central nervous systems comprise of the brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system is a network of nerves spread across our body. PNS consists of a total of 43 pairs of nerve, among which 12 originating brain named as the cranial nerves and 31 originated from spinal cord, hence called as the spinal nerves. Neuron is the basic unit of nervous systems. It is the nerve cell which transmits electrical signals to the brain. A neuron has three parts: dendrite, soma or cell body, and axon. Here is the structures of neuron. Let's take a look at the difference between axons and dendrite. Muscle tissue is made up of special muscle cells that have the ability to contract when stimulated so they can generate a force-producing movement. There are three types of muscle tissue in the body. Skeletal muscle tissue are also known as the striated muscle tissue, cardiac muscle tissue, and smooth muscle. Let's take a look at the difference between those three muscle tissue at the table here. You can find the table on your textbook page 344. Muscle contractions is at the basis of all skeletal movements. Skeletal muscles are composed of muscle fibers, which in turn are made of repetitive functional units called sarcomeres. Its sarcomere contains many parallel, overlapping thin or actin and thick or myosin filaments. During the contractions of sarcomeres, the I bands shortened and the length of the A lines did not change. Skeletal muscles contracts when it receives an impulse from a neuron. An impulse moves along the axon of a motor neuron and arrives at the presynaptic membrane. Impulses travel only in one direction. Nerve impulses cannot travel in the opposite direction because the nerve cells only have neurotransmitter storage vesicles going on one way and receptors in one place. Figure 15.29 shows the sequence of events that follows the arrival of an impulse at a motor end plate. The control by the nervous system is very fast. However, it is also very expensive in the term of energy needed for the pumping sodium and potassium ions to maintain the resting potential and in protein synthesis to make all the channels and pumps proteins. A much cheaper alternative is to use hormones that are secreted in the tiny quantities and dispersed around the body in the blood. Homeostatic functions such as the control of the blood glucose concentrations and the water potential of the blood need to be coordinated all the time, but they do not need to be coordinated in a hurry. Hormones are ideal for controlling this function. That's all about the review for the final test. Don't forget to study and do the review exercise on Edmodo. Bye!